You're ready if you want to start the recording. Excellent. Good morning, everybody. I'm calling this meeting of the Public Safety Communications Task Force to order. It is 11:16 on May 8th, 2024, and I'm Barbara Neal. As a reminder, the meeting's being recorded and the recording will be posted to the task force webpage following the meeting. So let's start with a roll call. Jen Morrison.
I'm here.
Jim Mack.
Here.
Paul White.
I'm here.
All right, and let's see. No other task force members have joined as yet. So also joining us today is Callie Audette as our administrative support. Rick and Dom, good morning from Televate.
Morning.
And Rance from Mission Critical. Morning.
Good morning.
Morning, everyone.
And I see, let's see, I have unknown user on the screen. Stephen, is that you?
It is.
Okay, good morning. All right, let's move to approval of the agenda. So the agenda was distributed to task force members by email. It's also available on the web page. Do task force members have any changes to the agenda for today? Hearing none, we'll consider the agenda approved and move on to approval of the minutes from the April 24th regular meeting, number 24. Are there any changes needed to these minutes? Is there a motion to approve the minutes from 4/24?
Sure, I'll move that.
Seconded.
And I'd be happy to second.
All right. I heard Jim first, but I'll let Callie sort it all out. Any discussion? All in favor of approving the minutes from April 24th, raise your hand or indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Hands up and an aye. So the minutes are approved, which brings us to public comment. Looks like we only have one person who may want to comment. Stephen?
Yeah, I want to inquire and urge that y'all take up some of the issues I raised in my last public comment. It's more than concerning that these crucial issues as to participation and engagement not be swept under the rug. This minimal quorum is but one small example. But the pending amendment to actually inventory the right-of-way to create at least the visibility of a potential sustainable revenue source to support dispatch is not apparently not worthy of putting on the agenda for discussion. I'm disheartened, if not disgusted, with that. This task force is being led around by the co-chairs, and the inability to actually take any initiative and discuss the issues that could actually move this ball down the court is more than concerning. It appears that we're going through the motion, putting out pretty newsletters, and did you know game show, and instead of getting the job done. But we're entering potential largest or most numerous hurricane season in recent history. We're entering solar maximum next year, and we are not prepared at all with any type of near-term resilience enhancements to our emergency communications. And the failure of this task force to get its head around a strategy that could get cellular out there into the dead zones and fund it from right-of-way fees as a public safety along the state highways imperative is, I just can't understand why y'all don't want to talk about it. If you're really going to do your due diligence and be on this board. And I think asking for a response to this is not out of order.
You're muted, Barb.
Barb, you're muted.
Sorry about that. I'm sorry. I asked Stephen if he was all set with his comments. It appears that he is. So we will move on to project updates from Televate. So I'll hand it over to Dom.
Thank you, Barb, and good morning to the rest of the task force members. The focus over the last couple of weeks has been primarily on the data collection questionnaire. You have reviewed the initial draft of that. MCP has been working continuously on that and has provided an update. The update was further reviewed with Televate and Task Force, and there are additional updates that are ongoing. Rance may have some additional information. But they have added specific questions concerning the radio and the wireless communications, and also cybersecurity questions. And of course, these questions are geared towards the dispatch centers throughout the state, which will be visited soon. And they are working on developing a schedule for those visits as well. MCP and Televate have gotten together to discuss the information exchange and schedule updates. We are both also keeping in touch with Corey Chase, who is the Vermont statewide interoperability coordinator, if you're not aware, regarding radio and wireless communications. And MCP has established a process and a shared folder to collect the system information once all of that is available. On other fronts, the project FAQ, frequently asked questions document, was developed. There were a couple of iterations to that. It was finalized, and it has been posted on the website, so that's available. And also, Televate is continuing to review the COPS TEP technology grant program. And we have developed some initial assessments and also some additional questions, which we are continuing to investigate and expect to have our final comments for the next task force meeting. So also planned activities, as I mentioned, MCP will continue to develop the questionnaire and get that finalized as soon as possible, and then put together the inventory and assessment schedule. Still working towards those major milestones. And happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Any questions from task force members? Looked like you were going to say something, Jim Mack. No?
No, I'm all set.
Okay. All right. All right, then, if there's no questions, let's go to the dispatch survey status update, which Dom mentioned here. Rance, do you have any additional information on where that stands?
Yes, perfect segue from Dom and Barb yourself. As Dom mentioned, we had our first review with the full task force. We've done an additional review with the co-chairs and Televate, and we have, if you remember our sequence, we were going to do an internal quality assurance on the questions themselves, because at this point I have 90% looked at the questions myself, so many times I can look at it. I just need another set of eyes to look it over, which they have done, and those edits are being made. I think I got just a few more to deal with to wrap up, and then I had some additional questions coming from our wireless team. Actually, additional questions. It was one additional question that they want to add into the questionnaire. We'll have that done. I'm anticipating I'll have that ready by Thursday, and then we can move on to our next phase. I believe Barb was we were going to go back to Televate and the co-chairs again for the review of that, if that is correct.
Yeah.
Okay. I
That's
will.
my recollection. Yep.
Yeah, that is mine too. Dom, I think, that was our direction, correct?
Yes, that's
Okay.
my understanding as well. Thank
Good.
you.
So we'll, as soon as I have that completely ready, I'll just shoot an email back to Barb and Jen, and we can set up that meeting to do that additional review. And then I believe the anticipation after that, once that is done, then we'll bring it back to the full task force.
Okay. Great. Any questions for Rance on the dispatch survey? Or any other aspect, I suppose, of the project? No? All right, we are moving through the agenda more quickly than I expected. So, is there any new business for today from task force members? Paul?
A couple of things. First, if it's appropriate, I just wanted to respond to something that was said during public comment about the task force being led around by the co-chairs, I think was the term used. And I think that is exactly what was intended by the legislature when they created the co-chair positions. And I think it also is what the task force members want and expect, since the task force as an entire body doesn't have the time to be intimately involved in every conversation. And although I would be the first to admit, I wish we were further along than what we are. I think being led around by the co-chairs is exactly what we want to have happen, speaking for myself. Second thing is, I just wanted to sort of, I don't know, test the temperature of the room, I guess. I was initially appointed to the first public safety working group 2 years ago now as a representative of the Vermont League of Cities and Towns because of my role as select board chair in Barrytown. My term is ending next week. I'm no longer going to be on the select board of Barrytown. I think when I was appointed to this task force, it was because I was chair of the previous working group. And so I guess my question is, whether or not anybody feels that I should step down from this task force because I am no longer in the role I was originally in when I was appointed by the legislature. I'm happy to continue. However, if anyone thinks it'd be more appropriate to have somebody else appointed, I'm also happy to step aside and observe.
So, Paul, this is Jen. I think that really has to be up to whoever you represent on this task force. So I think it's still is the League of Cities and Towns, right?
Well, no, not really. I mean,
No.
the 2 years ago, the original working group, I was appointed by the League of Cities and Towns. That's
Right.
correct.
Right.
But then with the current task force, the legislature appointed me because I was the chair of the previous working group. So I guess you could make that nexus that I was originally even considered because of my role representing a municipality.
So I would say
either way,
nothing has
yeah.
changed.
Right.
If you were appointed because you were the chair of the original working group, then there would be no reason. Your current role doesn't really
Right.
impact the fact that
Right.
that's how you got on this task force.
That is my opinion as well. But if anybody felt strongly otherwise, I just wanted to get it out there in the air.
Right, and I agree with Jen that nothing has changed, and also point out Vermont League of Cities and Towns had input on Mike Dungus' appointment to this task force. So I'd be happy for you to stay. Jim or
I don't see any reason to make any changes here since you were part of the original group that started looking at this. That's part of the reason why you're here.
Okay. Very good. Thank you.
Michael, did you have anything you wanted to add or?
Nope, agree with that 100%.
Okay. All right, excellent.
Paul, did you have
So-
another item of new business?
No, that was all. Just my comments about the public comment and then
Yep,
my position.
Very good. I just want to offer under new business. I hear what Mr. Whitaker is saying about parts of the solution that he envisions as being inevitable in any future design. He's implicated, obviously, cell dead zones and other stuff. And I just want to, from my perspective, I'm not speaking on behalf of Barb or anyone else on this task force, that this process is a constant struggle of not jumping to conclusions and appearing to preordain what we are building and what solutions MCP will come up with, or offerings they will come up with, that we then have to consider and select what we put forth for public feedback and put out to the stakeholders. So this is a constant struggle of not getting out in front of the process. And so I hear Stephen's frustration with what he perceives to be us not completing tasks that he views as very important, and that in all likelihood will be implicated in whatever solution is agreed upon moving forward. But that's really important to me, that we don't, and I've said this repeatedly in conversations about this work, that we don't end up at the end of this process delivering something to stakeholder groups that their reaction to it is going to be, oh yeah, they had a fair and impartial process by which they shoved down our throats what they wanted to do in the first place. That is not how we want this process to go. And we are trying to honor the process by letting MCP and the subject matter experts do the work implicated in Act 78. And it's our job to support them as they do that work. And there will come a time when there are options in front of us that need to be evaluated. So I just want to acknowledge that I hear Stephen's frustration, and I get it, but we have to honor the process and do this very methodically.
Thank you, Jen. I don't disagree with any of that. So good. Jim, did you have something to add?
I don't disagree with anything that Jen just said. I can't make a decision on where things need to go. One of the problems that I'm facing right now is a CAD system issue from some of my responders. They're being told by Crosswinds that they're going to get billed for using First Due. I know some of these decisions are going to be made later in the process. I'd love to have them made now so I can move forward on some of our projects on our end. But I don't want to make a decision now that's going to be in the wrong direction for most of the state of Vermont.
Got it. Good. Anything else on this or other new business? Okay, I see that Kim Cheney joined us, so I'm going to give him an opportunity for public comment at this point. Kim, do you have anything you'd like to share with us today?
Thank you, Barb. No, you and I had a conversation, and I had a little delaying fall out in the woods the other day. And I was trying to get hooked back in, so I missed most of today's show. But it looks like we're progressing, and I've been trying very hard to get the DOJ COPS report in hard copy because it has a long section on governance, which I want to make sure is before this group. And I expect Rick and Dom are familiar with it. But that was my search, and I'd like to make sure the governance side here is being followed very carefully. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. And just to follow up on a conversation we did have, your email that you sent to me after the last meeting was circulated to the task force members, but not until this morning. So I just wanted to make you aware. And Jen and I are kind of working through a better process for sharing of information that comes in, that way, so that people have it right ahead of time.
on my email, piggybacked on a book by General Petraeus, who is probably one of the most interesting people that this country's thrown up in a long time. And I urge you all to peruse it. It's both frightening and illuminating as to the world we're in. Thank you for listening.
Alrighty. Thank you. Okay, I think we are ready to move to the final agenda item, which is to set the next meeting date. And that is already done for 2 weeks from today. Depending on the timing of the survey questions, which we will want to get back in front of the task force once they're finalized, we may need to call a special meeting, but we'll see where that leads us and what the timing of all of that is. So I think we're good with the next meeting being on for the 22nd. And if there's nothing else, is there a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion to
I
adjourn.
can make a motion to adjourn.
Excellent. I got 3 of them. All right. A
Second.
second? Okay,
Second that.
excellent. All in favor, raise your hand or indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
I
Aye.
see all hands are up and a couple of ayes to boot. So we are all set for today. Thank you very much, everybody, and we'll talk to you again very soon.
Bye.
All
Thank you,
right,
Barb.
bye-bye. Yeah,
Bye,
thank
everyone.
you.